I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. What's going on, everybody, and welcome in to The Locker Room on this unconventional Wednesday episode. For those of you who didn't know or haven't seen why we didn't post last night, I've been dealing with a family emergency. My father is actually being rushed into emergency surgery this afternoon, so your thoughts and prayers have not only been heard, but they have been received, and they have been much appreciated, so thank you very much for that as he continues his road to recovery. I will make sure to keep you all updated as it goes along, as I know he will return to full strength very shortly. Before we get started, make sure you're following The Locker Room on Twitter, TLR with Jacob, on Instagram, The Locker Room Podcast 615, on Facebook, The Locker Room Host Jacob, and on TikTok, The Locker Room 22. This episode of The Locker Room is brought to you by FNX Fitness. For all your health, supplement, clothing, and fitness needs, go to fnxfit.com. That is fnxfit.com, and use your promo code TLRHOST. That is TLRHOST, all capitals, for 15% off your order. Start a better life today. Well, of course, we have got to start this week's podcast off with football. None other than college football, because we just crowned a champion for the 2020-2021 season. The Crimson Tide, Alabama, reign up top again. Nick Saban now has 7 championships to his name. Now, we're going to talk about Nick Saban in just a second, but let's go briefly over the game. It was about what I thought it was going to be. I predicted that Alabama would win by at least 2 scores. I'm pretty sure they won by 22 scores. It felt so overwhelmingly Alabama. It was kind of boring after the second quarter. There wasn't a lot of back and forth. The biggest thing that I was intrigued by was, is Devontae Smith or Najee Harris going to drop like 7 touchdowns this game and start breaking records? I mean, that is all I had to look forward to after the first 9 minutes of this game. And I repeatedly said this as well. It was going to take not only heroics from Justin Fields, it was going to take the best performance of his entire career. It was going to take the best performance from the offensive line, the wide receivers, the defensive backs. It was going to take everybody's best performances to even get close to knocking off this Alabama squad. And I knew that they gave everything that they had to that Clemson Tigers squad, and that is why they were going to fall short in this championship game. Justin Fields, he looked like he was dinged up. He looked like he was injured a little bit, holding his hip. Now, if you're on the field, I don't give players excuses. If you're on the field, you have to produce. Plain and simple, Justin Fields, injured or not, he did not produce the way he should have. We saw Trey Sermon go out very early, which I think from the beginning put a damper on things for Ohio State. Their defense just simply couldn't keep up with Devontae Smith and Najee Harris. That is one of the craziest combos we might have ever seen in all of college football. Mac Jones was pinpoint accurate. The only time this game really got interesting was when Mac Jones fumbled the football early on in the football game, and then it turned around and was a 14-14 all. And that's when I was like, okay, this is very intriguing. Ohio State got a stop, which they needed. They tied the football game, and what could go on from there? And we saw that fumed out pretty quick. When you have somebody like Devontae Smith, the Slim Reaper, as they call him, on the offensive side of the football, there's just almost nothing your defense can do. If he did not dislocate / break his finger, I believe he would have put up at least 4 to 5 touchdowns easy. He had 3 going into the halftime, right? He would have put up 4 to 5, and I'm pretty sure, I think Nick Saban's a good enough guy that he would have made him sit out and not try and run up the score by 100. But it was pretty remarkable what we saw from this Alabama squad. Now, I'm not going to get into, could this team beat last year's LSU team? Is this the greatest college football team ever, offensively speaking? Because we're going to save that for another time and place with, of course, the guys that we do our Saturday morning pick'ems with all the time, Justin and Seth. We're going to talk about that in just a few weeks. So that's right. If you're a college football fan, it's not going away. We're going to continue to do the YouTube series. Except we're not going to, of course, be making picks, but talking about talking about next year's college football schedule, teams, matchups, and then we're going to, of course, talk about some fun subjects like which is the best college football offense of all time. But what an incredible performance from Alabama. Congratulations. Ohio State, you just simply weren't up to the task. Too many dinged up players, too many injuries, too many players playing with injuries. You just didn't have enough firepower, and I knew that that's how it was going to go down. Now let's talk about Nick Saban real quick. A lot of people are saying Nick Saban, yes, he has the most championships, but is he the greatest coach all time? They don't know. First and foremost, I am not a Bama fan. I actually despise Alabama. I was the guy that hated the Patriots. I hated Alabama. I hated all these great teams. I hated the Golden State Warriors. Actually, I still hate the Golden State Warriors. But I'm the guy who always goes against those dynamics and goes against the narrative, right? If somebody were to tell me Nick Saban's the greatest coach to walk the earth in college football or in football in general, I was the first person that was like, oh, hell no. I hate Nick Saban. He's trash. He just has good players. Even though, yes, I agree, Nick Saban does have the cream of the crop every year. The best running backs, the best quarterbacks, the best wide receivers. It takes a special person and a special coach to be able to wrangle all of those things in to make a championship squad. So, without a doubt, Nick Saban is the greatest college coach to walk the earth, and he very well might be the greatest football mind or coach to ever walk this earth. We have seen a lot of talented players play together. We saw an Oklahoma City team that had James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook lose. We have seen many great teams that have the top talent in the world fail. Why? The coaching can't keep it together. They can't keep these players grounded. Even though college is a lot easier to coach than the pros, because the pros is basically an ego managing babysitting job, and then college is actually teaching and preparing to be a babysitter or to be a baby in the next level so you can be babysat, right? So college and professional do have very distinctive differences when it comes to coaching, but to get these guys to all be on the same page, to get running backs that would be starters. This is the crazy part. These running backs and these wide receivers would be starters anywhere else in the country. To play second and third string and be the next man up is remarkable. And that is all because of what Nick Saban does. He gets players to the NFL and he gets players to win and he wins championships. Congratulations to the greatest college football coach to ever walk the earth and arguably the greatest coach to ever walk the earth in Nick Saban on 7 massive rings. I just hope that he continues this ride. Here's the deal. I'm a guy where, like, if there's going to be a crazy dynasty, give me, like, 17 rings. Like, if there's going to be a dynasty like Tom Brady, keep winning the rings, right? Like, at this point, if I already hate you because you've won 3 or if you won 4, what's the difference if you win 4 or you win 8? Like, just keep winning. Who cares at this point? Like, so I hope Nick Saban sticks around. I hope he wins 1 or 2 more. I hope he puts the bar so far out of reach that it's just a laughable joke and everybody just goes, that will never happen again. So don't retire. Keep it going. At this point, I want to see Alabama be the not only the greatest football dynasty ever, which they probably already are, but I want to see Nick Saban go for 10 rings because why not? Now let's go over to the NFL. Now the NFL had a great showing this weekend. The wild card weekend was incredible. For those of you who are football fans, you are praising the NFL for adding more games on to the regular season, making sure that our playoffs can get bigger and better, and then putting together 3 great games on Saturday and 3 great games on Sunday. Now, the outcomes weren't what a lot of people wanted, but I don't care. I'm a sucker for a good upset. Now, on the weekend, I ended up being 4-2. I didn't do too shabby. The Chicago Bears let me down. And then, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers shocked everybody in their performance. Now, I'm not going to recap all of the football games from this weekend because I have other topics I want to get to, but I will highlight just 2 of the 2 ones that I got wrong. Now, the Chicago Bears, I said their defense would play well enough to give them a puncher's chance. Now, puncher's chance is not a pun for my upcoming show that premieres January 20th with my co-host Stephen Hines that is all about fighting in the UFC, so make sure you check that out. But a puncher's chance in this aspect was Mitchell Trubisky was going to have the game of his career in order to push the Bears over the edge. Their defense gave them the opportunity. Mitchell Trubisky simply just disappointed the entire day. The run game was atrocious. The offensive line was bad. Mitchell Trubisky couldn't do anything further down the field. And that is simply why the Chicago Bears lost. Now, if the Chicago Bears are able to pick up Deshaun Watson in this offseason, as long as they don't lose a lot of their comparable defensive pieces, the Chicago Bears will be in the Super Bowl next year. There is no doubt in my mind that the Chicago Bears have enough pieces in order to get the job done in the Super Bowl. Their defense is top 3. They've got weapons on the offensive side of the football. Now they need probably another offensive lineman, I would say, and they need Tariq Cohen back because he is a Swiss Army knife and really does well in Matt Nagy's system. If they get a Deshaun Watson, if they get a Carson Wentz, if they get a quarterback, the Chicago Bears are going to be dangerous next year. But that being said, I put my faith in you, Chicago, and you let me down. Now let's move over to the Pittsburgh Steelers, probably the game most of you are shocked about just as much as I am. I will tell you, I did not expect this to happen. Not even close. Now, the biggest question surrounding this game was this game more about Cleveland or more about Pittsburgh? Meaning, is this game about what Cleveland did right or what Pittsburgh did wrong? I 100% have my belief that this is what Pittsburgh did wrong. When you have 4 interceptions, when you have fumbles, when you start out the game putting yourself into a hole because of a turnover, then another turnover, and next thing you know, you're down 14-0, 21-0. There's nothing you can do when it comes to playoff football to climb out of that hole. Now, towards the end of the game, we saw Ben Roethlisberger bring his team all the way back, but their defense simply just did not play good enough. He threw way too many turnovers, too many interceptions, too many fumbles. There was just way too much chaos on the Steelers side of the football for them to really get in the cusp of this game and be on the verge of winning it. Do I believe Pittsburgh would have lost in the next round? Yeah, I do. Do I believe that the Browns are going to lose in this next round? Absolutely, I do. This game was a battle for who goes out in the second round. This was just simply a sad performance from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I said it from the beginning. If the Steelers do not have any balance, they will not win this football game. Well, also, I didn't expect Big Ben to throw 500 yards and also 4 interceptions. That also gives you a massive hit to your chances when you have 4 turnovers from your quarterback. But they couldn't run the football early. Way too many turnovers. Mike Tomlin had his hands full this year, and he should have made moves a lot quicker than he did. Big Ben is not a 68 attempts a game thrower anymore. He's not a 40 attempt game thrower anymore. They need to be somewhere around 27 to 32, and their rushing game needs to be just about comparable to that. They can't afford to have Big Ben throw as much as he has. Too many batted balls. Big Ben simply was worn down. Their run game was atrocious. The turnovers is what cost them. Congratulations to Cleveland, man. You got your job done, but you're about to get the biggest ass whooping of your entire lives. Which, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan and you say, it doesn't matter, we want a playoff game, no. That's not how this works. You don't get to just say, well, we won one game, congratulations, great. You don't get a medal. You don't get a participation trophy for winning in the first round, right? So you're going to meet your maker. I can even rhyme this. Baker's going to meet his maker, right? Patrick Mahomes is about to dominate this football game. This isn't going to be close. It's not going to be a fun football game to watch. I will say this. If the Cleveland Browns somehow shock all of the sports world and have the biggest upset in all of history of sports, then I will give the Cleveland Browns their props. But until then, congratulations. You won a playoff game for the first time since like 1812. I hope that you have a fantastic Sunday losing by 3 touchdowns to the best quarterback on the planet right now. Now, of course, we have an incredible weekend of football coming up, but I've got to talk about this. This is my last thing I want to talk about with football. Then we've got some big NBA stories to be talking about in just a few short minutes. All right. The Nickelodeon Bowl was awesome. Now, I know a lot of people are torn between this, right? And definitely there are some tweaks that I think have to be made for this. And I'm going to give you my tweaks that I would make in order to make this even better. Listen, the NFL is in the entertainment business. And as long as that entertainment isn't a 5.5-hour halftime show with a bunch of people we don't give a crap about, then I'm all for upping the ante, making it better. This is why baseball continually loses fans, loses numbers, loses money. They are not evolving with the times. They are not beefing up the entertainment aspect of their sport. Now, I know a lot of people are hardcore baseball fans. I like baseball. I'm a Cubs fan. What I can't stand about baseball is that I'm still having to watch a boring 6.5-hour game that simply is not keeping people's interest. I talked about this last year. The numbers are saying that baseball is declining at close to a 7% rate, which is massive in the sports world. The only thing that keeps baseball going is the amount of money that is flushed into that sport, in all honesty. Now, I don't want to talk about baseball versus football because they are two completely different animals. But what I love about the NFL is they're evolving. They're trying new things out. It might suck. It might not. They try different things out with the All-Star Weekend to keep it fresh, to keep it interesting. They added a dodgeball tournament to last year's just to keep it interesting, which I thought was pretty fun. But the Nickelodeon Bowl is really cool. What college football does so well is they have fun, entertaining bowls. You know, you have the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. You have the Peach Bowl. You have the Rose Bowl. Every bowl has their own theme. It's fun. They have different giveaways. The players are more intrigued. And that's the college fun that really needs to get integrated to the NFL. For a while, the NFL was so stiff. You couldn't celebrate. You couldn't celebrate too excessively. If you celebrated and did something, you could be suspended for 2 and 3 games. You know, they wanted everybody to be zombies, which is what the MLB does. And now that they are allowing these players to express themselves, hell, I don't care if you have a 15-minute tea party in the end zone after you score a touchdown. Just don't be mad at me when someone comes and flies in and takes your head off the next play, right? That is what the NFL is built on. It's built on, I was going to say sportsmanship, but the word I'm looking for is built on personalities. It was built on players really being able to express themselves on the football field. You know, with the crazy shoes, the crazy arm sleeves. Now, we don't want it to go Fortnite crazy, right? That is why I think this is a perfect balance. It didn't go too crazy. It wasn't too over the top. They didn't let the players wear slime-colored sleeves and stuff. You know, they still kept the game looking professional, but at the same time, they had a lot more fun with it, and I really, really liked this. Now, some things I would change. I thought the young Sheldon stuff where they would explain, you know, what a first down was, or they would explain what a holding call was, or they would have different Nickelodeon stars come in and out. I thought that stuff was good. It was okay. You know, I don't really care for it, but it was fine. I think it helped with the theme. Now, you could tell the production on a lot of this stuff was kind of thrown together, right? Like the slime cannons in the end zone were kind of all over the place. But I found that intriguing. Or after the game. Like Sean Payton got a slime bath for winning it, right? I believe that Sean Payton, that thing next year needs to be a bigger ordeal. Hell, slime the field, slime the entire winning team. You could tell they had they had 2 people holding a little banner behind Sean Payton's head, and he got a bucket of slime. Like, that's the cheesy stuff that you need to, if you're going to go all in and make sure it looks all in professional. Because that little slime thing, even though it's small and minuscule, to me, that throws it off just a little bit. The one other thing I'd be pretty heavy on is, I would say is make sure that everything is professional, everything's done to the highest degree. If you half-ass something that's cheesy, it's going to come off even cheesier than you thought it was going to be. If you go all in, it might come out okay. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of things that I thought were good about it, but they definitely need to beef it up a little bit. So that's A, that's number 1. B, number 2, I would have better announcers and still keep the announcing part a little bit more professional, right? Now, I understand they had different personalities, different people involved with the show. That's fine. I don't mind having like celebrity announcers that go along with the show. Hell, put Snoop Dogg anywhere around a microphone on a sporting event, and you will have one of the best broadcasts of all time. But if you're going to use these people, use them sparingly. I still want to hear more professional sports commentary during an NFL football game. Like, I got a little bit annoyed when the girl or the guy that was talking, I think there was 3 of them, would just be like, oh, I believe it was this. And you're like, wow, that is one of the most way off things I've ever seen. Especially there was a controversial catch and they were arguing with the actual professionals that do this for a living. And it's just like, you don't know this realm as well as you're trying to think you know it. And to me, that came off a little bit not only too awkward, but it came off a little bit annoying for me personally. Now, like I said, I don't mind having celebrity personalities, celebrity announcers, or even celebrity commentary, but give people the option, like, hey, if you want to listen to Snoop Dogg and Kevin Hart talk about the game or whatever, boom, you can go over to Nickelodeon. If you don't, stay simply on, CBS or whatever. So a little bit more balance when it comes to the commentary side of it. Other than that, I kind of like the pageantry of it. I like the fact that the NFL had a Nickelodeon award for the Nickelodeon MVP, which I thought was pretty cool. Things like that I think are fun. I think they should start giving out Nickelodeon trophy, a giant trophy for whoever wins the Nickelodeon Bowl. Hell, make it kind of like a bowl game. Who wins the Nickelodeon Bowl in week 1? Who wins, at least for the wild card games. When we get further into it, I want it to be more serious because the stakes are higher. But for the first 6 wild card games, make those fun bowl games. Make it an interesting, fun weekend. Have celebrity announcers. I fully stand behind this, and I thought I was going to hate it. I personally had no recollection of this happening before it happened. I didn't know that this was a thing. I didn't know that they had a Nickelodeon Bowl. I simply turned it on and saw SpongeBob SquarePants' face in the backdrop of the kicking screen, and I'm all for it. I think it's awesome. Minor tweaks here and there, better commentary, more professional commentary, or mix it up one way or the other. Don't hit us too much over the head because most people watching these games are diehard football people. I don't need young Sheldon every 10 seconds telling me what a play is or what a penalty is. We got that, right? And then just beef up the pageantry of it on the other side, or on the face side of it. Make sure that everything looks a little bit more professional. And if you're going to go all in, go all in. If you're going to have Sean Payton or the team get slimed, don't have 2 people holding a banner and a side view of a camera pouring it on his head. No, make it more professional. Slime the field, slime the whole team. That would be a lot more fun, and it would sell what you're trying to do across a lot more if you did it that way. Those are just my couple of pet peeves that I had, or a couple of tweaks that I would make in order for the NFL to be bigger and better at their Nickelodeon Bowl next year, and I hope they have more themes. Hell, make a Taco Bell Bowl, dump mild sauce all over the team, throw out, tacos. I don't care. Let's start having some fun games, at least on the first 6 wildcard games. The NBA has returned here at the locker room. I know it feels like forever since we talked about the NBA, but this is the first time that the NFL and the NBA have been dueling on our TV screens, and it's been tough what to talk about, how to talk about it. The NFL has really dominated my mind right now because we are in playoff mode, but the NBA is also in full gear right now. We've got some big stories going on in the NBA, especially a major breaking news trade that just happened, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. Kind of changes the format I was going to go with, but the first thing I've got to talk about is something that it really grinds my gears. It's a thorn in my thistle. It pisses me off. It's the red name on my or the red in my ledger. What is it? Something like that. My dad used to say some dumb crap like that. But it's something that really upsets me. And I've talked about it. I've talked about this player more specifically a lot. But this player has just crossed the line. And in the words of Stephen A., this player should retire from the game of basketball. Now, today. And that player is Kyrie Irving. Now, I like Kyrie Irving, the basketball player. I like Kyrie Irving's game. I think he's the most dynamic ball handler we have ever seen. He can score at will. He has made one of the biggest shots in NBA Finals history. He is a champion. But Kyrie Irving, the person, sucks. Kyrie Irving, the leader, sucks. And there are several reasons why. For those of you that defended Kyrie Irving when he wanted to split from LeBron James, oh, LeBron James is this, LeBron James is that. Kyrie Irving needs his space. LeBron suffocates him. He's never going to be a leader. We have now seen enough body of work from Kyrie Irving that we know that it is not LeBron James's fault. It is not Gordon Hayward or anybody else at the Boston Celtics' fault. The common denominator that we can all find in this story is Kyrie Irving. He is now doing what he has done to Cleveland to Boston, to his new team, the Brooklyn Nets, and he is hurting Kevin Durant. He is making Kevin Durant play back-to-backs, which I am sure they don't want him doing, especially coming off such a serious injury like an Achilles injury. He is ruining his chemistry with his new team. He is hurting his brand new first-year head coach in Steve Nash. All off of his actions. I think it can be said that Kyrie Irving, while he is an incredible basketball player, while he is an all-star and incredible talent, he has some mental issues off of the court that he has to deal with. Because I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He either has mental problems and he has to deal with his depression or whatever he has, or he's a piece of crap and needs to never be given a job in the NBA ever again. So I will bear on his side of caution. He said he's been dealing with some stuff. For those of you who don't know the story, he dipped off and told he didn't even tell them. He told his teammates about 40 minutes before a basketball game that he wasn't going to be there. Doesn't call his head coach, doesn't talk to the GM, doesn't say, hey, I've got a serious emergency, here's what's going on, head coach, GM, owner, whatever. He just texts his teammates and goes, yo, I'm not going to be at the game. So that happened. He has now not been at the last, I think, 4 basketball games for them. Just decided that he's not going to show up. He's non-existent. Then pictures arise of him at one of his family's birthday parties. Family members, I think it was his sister's birthday party, not wearing a mask, which to me, whether you like masks or not, in order to be on the court, you have to make sure that you're masked and quarantining off the court in order to play. So he's seen at a nightclub for his sister's birthday party. He's seen on Zoom calls with Democratic leaders, which I'm all for. Hey, I am all for. If you wanna fight for whatever cause you want to fight for, you want to use your money to stand up and fight for people, great. Guess what? You have a job, and it's called the NBA. So get your ass on a court and play. I don't care if you're an athlete. I don't care if you're a garbage man. If you have a job, you do your job. If you feel you cannot do your job because of some social issue you want to deal with, that is all well and good. But you don't then get to get mad at your job when they fire you because you don't show up for 2 weeks. You don't then get to dictate how they operate when you're not there. You owe it to your teammates. You owe it to your brand new first-year head coach to give them a reasonable explanation and to be doing whatever you have to do off the court to the best of your ability to keep within the NBA guidelines. You didn't have to go to your sister's birthday party and not wear a mask and now have to be quarantined 14 days before you can even come back and play a basketball game. You didn't have to do that. So that is why I'm saying that this has to be on the mental side of it, because I don't understand why in the living hell you would go do that any other way, unless mentally you just know that you're not prepared to walk back onto a basketball court, which that is okay. We have seen players like Kevin Love. We have seen guys like Brandon Marshall go out there and talk about the mental health and why they should have taken games off or years off of the sport because they mentally weren't there. And if that is the case, Kyrie, go get the help you need. But don't come out on a basketball court. Don't come out here and not show up for 3 weeks and then just expect for you to get your paycheck in full, for you to get paid for all the games you're missing, for you to be able to run off to nightclubs, for you to be able to go do whatever you want and then just show up into and have your team buy back into you and have your first-year head coach respect you, because no one's going to do so. While I think Kyrie Irving, the person, as a whole, really means well, I think that as a leader, he sucks. He is one of the worst leaders in NBA history as the star player on a franchise. And I think he's doing a disservice to his own character and to whatever he's trying to accomplish on the basketball court. So in the words of Stephen A., retire. If you feel that you can't do what you need to do social justicely or politically or family-wise, then you need to step away from the game of basketball. Even if it's for a year. you need to step away. Get yourself mentally in the right zone so that way you can come back and play. Professional athletes or not, basketball is your job. If you cannot perform your job, you do not deserve to be there. Go get the help you need. That job will be waiting for you once you're mentally in the right space to come back and play. That's all I have to say on that. Now let's move on to some breaking news in the NBA. As I was recording this podcast, I literally got the notification that James Harden, and I had my same speech that I just gave Kyrie that I was going to give to James Harden. In this case, I was going to say James is just being a fat-ass jerk, because if you look at him, he looks like every dad at the YMCA right now, and he just was being a little brat, and he needed to be shipped off to Charlotte. But James Harden got his wish. The NBA is a lot different than the NFL. If that was an NFL player, that NFL player would have been shipped out to the Jaguars, and he would have had to have gotten over it. But James Harden has bullied his way out of Houston, and it is now a Brooklyn Net. Now, this deal was massive, and it included a lot of teams, so I'm going to kind of just break down what all went down. So, James Harden, of course, is out of Houston. He is now a Brooklyn Net. The Rockets have gotten Victor Oladipo. They've gotten Dante Exum. They've gotten Kirkus. They've gotten 3 Brooklyn Net first-rounders. They've gotten 1 Milwaukee Bucks first-rounder and 4 Brooklyn Net first-round swaps. Oh, my Lord. The Houston Rockets made out getting rid of James Harden. Listen, I thought James Harden was going to be able to get out of there for a pack of gum and a slap on the wrist, but the Brooklyn Nets had to pay heavy to get James Harden. The Rockets did a great job. Then the Rockets turned around and traded, of course they got Karis LeVert in the trade and traded him for Victor Oladipo. So the Indiana Pacers now have Karis LeVert and they got a second rounder out of it. And then the Cavaliers have gotten Jarrett Allen and Taurean Prince. Now here's the deal. This is a massive trade. Who wins this trade? If you're looking at it, I would say the Rockets. The Rockets got rid of the cancer that is James Harden. They got rid of a player that didn't want to be there. They picked up a player in Victor Oladipo who is comparable to James Harden in the sense that he can score the basketball and plays better defense and will be a better teammate. While James Harden might be the greatest offensive scorer in the game, Victor Oladipo will be able to fit in very nicely with John Wall and Boogie Cousins. And the Rockets got an array of first-rounders that they can trade for the Lord knows what in the next few years, or even before the deadline. Hell, they have 3 first-rounders that they could turn around and say, hey, we want this player from the Clippers. We want this. We want that. I mean, there is an array of things that could really happen here with the amount of assets that the Houston Rockets got. I do not like this trade for the Brooklyn Nets. Listen, people are comparing this to Golden State. They are saying, oh, this is just Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant all over again. Get out of here with that. That is not what this is at all. You know what Golden State had that this team now doesn't? A bench. Do you know what Golden State had now that this team doesn't? A better coach. Do you know what this team has that now Golden State has that now the Brooklyn Nets don't? A defensive identity. You might have the greatest scoring in the entire league, the 3 tandems right now. James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving, if Kyrie Irving even shows up or plays. Now listen, if the Brooklyn Nets lose Kyrie Irving at the end of all of this craziness due to whatever he has to deal with, the Brooklyn Nets not only are in major trouble, but the Brooklyn Nets might not even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. It might be close. But there ain't no way that they have Milwaukee to go through, who now has 2 defenders in Chris Middleton and Giannis Antetokounmpo that can do a very good job on James Harden and Kevin Durant, and now they don't have to worry about Kyrie Irving. The 76ers are playing at an elite level, and they now have scoring in Seth Curry that is really going to complement Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in the future. And guess what? The Brooklyn Nets just got rid of an arguably their 3rd or 4th best player in Jarrett Allen the way he's been playing this year. Now, I'm not saying he is their 3rd or 4th best player, but the way he has played this year, he is their 3rd or 4th best player behind Karis LeVert, which is, of course, is gone, and Spencer Dinwiddie, who is gone for the year with an injury. They have lost so much depth on their bench that I am not a big fan of this. Here's the deal. James Harden is going to command the basketball. Is Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving okay with that? I don't know. Kyrie Irving demands the basketball. I don't know how this is going to work out. On paper, it looks great. And I'm tired of people saying that, well, on paper, XYZ, because we have seen many a great scenarios on paper turn out very poorly. Where this hurts the Brooklyn Nets the most is rebounding and, of course, in the big man aspect of it. Losing Jared Allen is massive. I don't think people understand how massive this is. This man is averaging almost 13 and 16 a game. So no more Jared Allen now. You have no rebounding. So what are you going to do? You're going to put Jeff Green down there? While I like Jeff Green, and I think Jeff Green is a comparable player, Jeff Green will get eaten alive by Anthony Davis. He will be destroyed by Joel Embiid. Giannis Antetokounmpo will dunk over him. There is no one now in the post that is going to make life difficult for any team. So when they do play a Los Angeles Lakers, when they do play a Clippers, when they do play a Bucks, when they do play a Miami Heat, when they do play teams like that, they have no rim protector to keep all of these guys from driving. That is where you start getting into foul trouble. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, not known as great defenders. While James Harden is the better defender of the two, Kyrie Irving is not a great defender. They are going to be able to score with the best of them, and it looks great on paper. I do not like this deal for the Brooklyn Nets whatsoever. I think they ruined chemistry. They gave up a ton of rebounding. Their defense is non-existent anymore. When Kevin Durant is your best defender, you're in major trouble. Let's just put it that way. Not a big fan of this trade for them whatsoever. But that is the big major trade here. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Shoot me a DM right below this post on Instagram. Let me know what you think. I am not a fan. I would give this trade, if I was giving it a number grade. Good grief, Jacob. If I was giving it a letter grade, I would give it a C+ for the Brooklyn Nets, and that's at best. The Rockets for me got an A+. They got what they wanted. I would give it a B- for the Indiana Pacers. They're still comparable. They got Karis LeVert, who's a scorer just like Victor Oladipo. So I think he'll fit in there just nicely with Indiana here. But I'm not a major fan of what happened here. James Harden, while he got his wish, I don't believe the Brooklyn Nets got better. I believe the Brooklyn Nets lost a lot of depth, lost a lot of rebounding, and inevitably got worse on defense. Now let's go into our final thing here. It's a new segment I'm going to do where every single week, and as we add more shows, that's another thing that I was going to talk to you guys about. We are adding more shows to the locker room because you all have asked for it. And I don't have an official release date yet of when we're going to add those shows or what day or anything like that. But we are adding more podcasts per week. Make sure, like I said, to follow us on our social media. We have a ton of extra content that goes out daily. But we are going to give you a new segment called the letter grade of the week. So here's how this is going to go down. Every week, I give you 3 NBA performances, and I rank those performances from an A+ to a C+ to an F-. So you got your A, which is your best. You've got your C+, which is not great, but it's a passing grade. And then, of course, you've got your F-, which is your worst performance of the week in the NBA season. Like I said, as we add more shows, this is going to change and evolve, and it's going to be a fun segment. But we're going to start this off today. The A+ performance of the week, I'm going to start with Joel Embiid. He dropped 45 points. 13 for 13 on his free throws, and a win against the Miami Heat. Joel Embiid right now is my MVP favorite, although I do believe LeBron James every single year should be in the MVP conversation for what he's doing at his age. His team is number one in the West right now. I mean, averaging 26, 8, and 8 at 36 years old is remarkable in and of itself. But Joel Embiid right now has my A+ for the week. This performance we're seeing the Joel Embiid that not only we all thought we would see, but that we have been begging to see. The Joel Embiid that needs to just be the monster that he is. Once Joel Embiid stays healthy and can continually play at a high level, Joel Embiid might be top 3 best players in the NBA. I know a lot of you are thinking, like, what the hell? Did you just say best 3? Yes. That's how dominant this guy can be on a night-to-night basis. When we talk about the best players in the NBA, we talk about guys that can get it done and that can literally not be stopped. LeBron James, the Kevin Durants, the Anthony Davises. Joel Embiid. These guys are guys that literally there's nothing you can do. When they want to score, they're going to score. And when he plays healthy and when he plays at the level he needs to, top 3 best players in the NBA instantly. The C-plus performance of the week, I am probably going to go with Andrew Wiggins against Toronto. He pulls out the win 106-105. And, I mean, he only had 17 points. He was definitely, if you look at the percentage-wise, he shot close to 25%. But he got the job done. He was the leading scorer. He had 11 rebounds, which also helped. And at the end of the day, I mean, when the rest of your team scores under 15, you kind of are the only good performer for that day. So 17 points will get the job done for the C-plus spot here. Andrew Wiggins over the Toronto Raptors. And the F- performance of the week goes to James Harden. In 31 minutes, he was 5 of 16, 1 for 6 from 3, only 7 rebounds, 6 assists. He had 4 turnovers and only 16 points. And also, he has the body of a YMC basketball dad that literally never gave up his career, still wears arm sleeves at 46 years old, beating up on a bunch of 17-year-old kids. James Harden is your F- performer of the week. Thank God he has gone to Brooklyn, the Rockets have said, because they could not deal with James Harden anymore. This weekly occurring segment is now going to have voting. The fan voting will determine who had the best, worst, and most medium performance of the week. So make sure you're following us on our social media. I stress that enough because there's just so much content that goes exclusively on our social medias. So you can join along and you can vote who had the best, worst, or most medium performances. Listen, you don't even have to watch the games. I'm going to give you the players. You get to vote on the 3 worst, the 3 best, and the 3 most medium. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope you join us on the Locker Room Podcast 615 on Instagram to join in. Now, before we go, I just wanted to say we have a ton of stuff coming your way. January 20th, A Puncher's Chance debuts. Of course, we have the college football show that is going to continue to go through until next football season. That is going to pick up probably later in the month of February. So bear with us on those dates as I'm getting everybody, it does take a lot of time getting everybody signed on and confirmed to appear and to be a part of the show. So we've got that coming as well. We have a ton of new content. We are adding more shows to the podcast per week. We are going to be doing DOS shows coming up very soon. So make sure you're sticking with us. You know all of those dates. I want to thank you all for listening for us, listening for me, because this does really mean a lot. Thank you for all your thoughts and prayers from my family this week. Continue to pray. Locker Room faithful, you never disappoint. I will see you next Tuesday.